Part 1 is linked in the description in case you missed it. We left off with Yakang escaping from underground after mining for 8 years straight, and Manju burning down a village. The scene cuts to later that night after Manju has completed his raid. The full moon is in the sky and inside is a bunch of empty bottles, with someone calling out for more liquor to be sent. It's Manju who has had a little too much to drink but is still demanding more. He yells at someone to go and get some. He's angry that the woman at the village he just raided called him worthless scum. He thought all his problems would be solved by joining the Murim Federation, but he couldn't have been more wrong. While downing another shot, he thinks about Manhwa. He blames that idiot for all the problems he has caused over the years. Then he slams his cup onto the table in frustration, once again cursing the crazy Manhwa. The clan book which he stole from the raided village is laying opposite him on the table. He picks it up, thinking about how he never gave up on his goals, and how he doesn't care what people say or think about him anymore. His goals seem distant, but when that is the case, the only way left is to keep moving forward. With the books he has been stealing from the countless villages he has raided, Manju has been absorbing all the secret martial arts teachings of smaller clans to make himself stronger. Sometime later, a strange mist begins wafting into the room slowly. It wakes up Manju, who fell asleep at the table like some drunkard. He stands up to see the room filled with this smoke. Scratching his head, he wonders what it could be, and what could be going on. That's when he spots boils all over his arm, all bubbly and gross like some bubble wrap. It's not just his arms. These boils are all over his body, including his face. He bursts through his door, calling out to the others. His body has all of a sudden. Before he can finish his sentence, he sees all of the people that were previously outside are all laying on the floor, presumably dead. Killed by the same smoke, they have boils too, along with foam streaming from their mouths. Eventually, someone alive arrives on the scene. It's two people in fear who don't know what to do. They woke up to their bodies being covered like this, them and everyone else in the village. They beg Manju to tell them what's going on. Manju closely analyzes the symptoms of everyone. Their faces are glistening and red pimples have formed all over. It could just be the liquor, but Manju feels like his body's senses have dulled too. There's no doubt in his mind that these are the symptoms of the poison known as cinnabar, a brick-red form of mercury. The fumes of cinnabar are known to cause mercury poisoning. The poison school used to mine cinnabar from the mine that they destroyed over 8 years ago. The men think there might be some left over somewhere. Manju orders them to go and get all of it right now, thinking perhaps they can create an antidote. He wonders how something like this could have happened. Perhaps someone misused the ingredient accidentally. He realizes this isn't the case as he can't feel any water particles, meaning the gas in the air isn't mist, it's smoke. Looking out into the forest, he can see the source of this smoke. His clan is under attack by someone. His mind begins to race, wondering who on earth could be doing such a thing. The picture zooms in on a cauldron in the woods, where our main character is burning the cinnabar and releasing the poison into the night sky. Through the trees and the smoke, he looks down at the clan that he is destroying with the mercury poisoning. When he first exited the mine after 8 years of being trapped, the night air felt like it was piercing through his skin. It was painful and tears ran down his face. It wasn't just the night air, the moonlight blinded his eyes when he looked up into the sky. After spending 8 years in darkness, now much older than when he first entered, things were very different than what they were before. However, with everything that changed during this time, one thing remained the same for Yakang. The vow he made to get his revenge on the poison school for everything they did to his clan and family. Yakang wasn't lost and knew exactly where to go and what to do next. His future and the path he must take was decided long ago, and it hasn't changed in the slightest during the 8 years he has been away. Back with Manju in the poison school, they have found an antidote to the cinnabar, a Smilax pill, though they only have a few left. Manju tells the small group surrounding him to take one each and follow him. The rest of the people will have to wait as they are not the priority. Their top priority is to dispose of the enemy that is attacking them. They don't know who it is or how many of them there are. They could be in the tens or hundreds. One thing Manju is certain about is that it's only a matter of time before they find out. The survivors who manage to get their hands on the antidote sprint into the forest until they spot the source of the smoke, a big fire just up ahead. They approach, but the enemy is still hidden by the thick smoke blocking their vision. In a threatening tone, Manju calls out, telling whoever is there to step forward and identify themselves. Yakang doesn't reveal himself just yet. Instead, he remains by the burning cinnabar saying, "You're here." Once again, Manju asks who's there, and what reason do they have to commit this attack against their clan. At this moment, the smoke is blown back into the faces of the poison school. They momentarily cover their eyes, and once they open them again, they see their enemy. Our main character, a young boy with purple hair. He looks up at them, explaining that the reason behind his attack is vengeance. Sounding like Batman, he tells them his name is Yakang, and he is here to avenge the medicine school. Manju chuckles. He had no idea people in the medicine school had this much audacity, and is surprised. He asks Yakang where everyone else is. Alone in the smoke, Yakang explains he came alone. For a moment the men have baffled expressions, until Manju bursts into laughter. He thinks he is joking, asking the boy what he can do all by himself. With his eyes glazed over in a similar manner, Yakang asks the old man if it looks like he is joking right now. The laughter stops but the baffled expressions remain. Manju gestures for his men to attack. They can find out more about this unusual boy later when they torture him. With Yakang surrounded, Manju calls Yakang an idiot. Cinnabar is a poison his clan has specialized in for a while. Did he really think they wouldn't have an antidote available? Manju states that Yakang will regret coming here like this as his henchmen charge forwards. With the battlefield still covered in smoke, the men start to get a little worried upon getting close to Yakang. Their vision is hazy and senses dull, as if still being affected by the cinnabar poison despite taking an antidote. The first guy swings his sword which Yakang swiftly ducks underneath. He then draws a knife from his person, plunging it into the guy's stomach and throwing him back. With that guy defeated, a second opponent approaches. He dams Yakang while charging forward. Yakang pulls out his knife and manages to block the guy's sword just in time. Their metal weapons clang together in a lock. Yakang pulls back his other hand as if preparing a hand strike. The guy is shocked to see this kid knows martial arts too. With a push of his palm, Yakang sends this chump flying backwards and out of the way. He then prepares to take on all the other henchmen that are coming for him, with Manju watching the scene carefully, with sweat dripping down his face, seeing the way Yakang is moving and fighting, able to take on all these people all at once. He can tell that there is something strange going on here. Yakang's swordsmanship and footwork is messy and casual, even slightly amateurish. He's clearly not an experienced fighter, unable to even dodge all the attacks perfectly. Manju is baffled as to why his men are performing so badly out there. Despite having him outnumbered and surrounded, they are performing terribly. Yakang is making quick work of all of them, even splattering poison in their faces from his finger. When this poison enters their bloodstream, it takes them out, providing a ranged attack for him to use alongside his blade. Mid-fight, Yakang turns his head to the left to look at Manju, who is staring right back at him still, trying to comprehend why his men can't take on a boy. He pushes them out of the way, asking how long they are going to drag this thing out for. Are they not strong soldiers of the poison school? They should feel ashamed of themselves. He declares that he is going to end this quickly, pouncing forwards towards Yakang with his hands stretched out. It's been a long time since Manju has fought someone one-on-one. However, he thinks he isn't going to have a problem against a boy. To avoid the attack, Yakang simply steps to the side with all the time in the world. I guess Grandpa isn't able to move quite as fast as he used to. He plunges face first into the ground, sliding across the dirt. He starts to tremble, feeling that something isn't right. His body still feels strange. He hears Yakang's voice approaching, explaining that slowness and lethargy are both effects of the cinnabar poison. It paralyzes the senses and causes them to go haywire. Did they really think they cured themselves with those Smilax pills they took earlier? Manju looks around to see all his men still dying from the poison. He is confused. They definitely took the antidote. With Manju laying dying on the ground too, Yakang begins to explain things to him. He wasn't just burning cinnabar here, he was also burning green tea leaves. The cure to cinnabar poisoning is Smilax pills, but they don't work if people have weak kidneys and liver. Secondly, if the Smilax pills are taken with green tea leaves, then the effects are completely nullified, rendering the pills useless. Yakang knows he is still a weak boy and never intended to beat Manju's clan in battle. He was just buying time for the poison to take effect. He's not an idiot and has waited 8 years just for this day. Defeated, Manju begins begging for his life, stating they were only following orders from higher-ups. He proposes a deal. If Yakang gives him an antidote, then he will help Yakang with his revenge plot. However, Yakang rises to his feet, explaining that there is no cure. The only reason he isn't affected by the smoke is because he is immune to poisons. Getting a better look and thinking deeply, Manju realizes who Yakang is, the boy that Manhwa experimented on. He finds it unbelievable that he was able to make it out of the mines alive. His tongue begins to burn like crazy as the poison's fatal effects start occurring. He screams in pain, but Yakang ignores him. The medicine school has disappeared, and the clans trapped in the mine weren't the only ones that suffered because of the poison school. With Manju screaming in the back, Yakang vows to punish the whole of the poison school for their crimes, not just this clan. All those who died are unable to get their revenge, but he vows to deliver the punishment and get revenge for them. After taking out Manju's clan, he walks back through the village, past all the bodies that have died from his poison smoke. They are littered everywhere, all up a set of steps and up to the front entrance. Above the entrance is a sign that reads Venom Sect, signaling that this is just the Venom Sect of the Poison School. Looking up at this sign, Yakang calls out to his grandpa, mother, and everyone else. Finally, he has avenged them. The Venom Sect have paid the price for their atrocities. Their price has been paid by their extermination. However, just because the Venom Sect has disappeared, doesn't mean that everything has been resolved now. On a desk inside Manju's office is a box. Yakang approaches and opens this box up. Inside are various books and documents about the Poison School, which Yakang starts reading. He knows the Venom Sect weren't the only ones involved in all of this. They were just the frontmen of a rotten group, a small sect, a part of the much larger Poison School. The only reason the Venom Sect was able to pull all of this off is because they had much stronger people watching their backs. Yakang spends a long time reading through the books, with the sun starting to set outside. After all these pages, he thinks that he has finally found something of use to him. He points to a specific part of a book, beginning to read it aloud. It states that Wejong, of the Poison Valley sect, is the one who ordered the destruction of the mines. He did this with the support of all the other poison sects, as Murim Federation General Li was worried about the presence of such mines. This text just confirms what Yakang already suspected. The three great poison sects were all related to this matter. He remembers the others from back in the mine that died of starvation. Many of them weren't victimized by the Venom Sect, but some of the other poison sects. The mine was a place maintained by all of the poison sects, not just one. Yakang grits his teeth and sets a light to the room in anger. If he leaves the poison sects as they are, more people are going to end up suffering like the medicine school did. The moment Yakang made it out of that mine, what he had to do was already decided. He needs to get rid of the poison sects to their very roots, to repay in blood for all the blood that they spilt. And after that, Yakang will deal with the Murim Federation General Li, as he was just as involved in all of this as everyone else. The scene cuts to a class being taught within one of the poison school's many sects. The teacher talks about how the heart is an organ that fights and protects the human body from damage. However, the liver is the organ that defends the heart from damage. So if a poison is used on the heart, then it will be the liver that gets damaged first. The students praise their teacher for dropping such astounding knowledge. They didn't realize how the liver could be harmed after targeting the heart before it was explained. The teacher smiles upon hearing this praise. He's just a man waiting for the day he dies. He's happy to pass the little knowledge he has along to the next generation. It is revealed that the teacher is no other than Manhwa, the villain that conducted the experiments on our main character. With class now over, the students show their respect and leave. They walk away, with Manhwa explaining that in the next lesson they will learn how to identify different types of poison by the effects they have on the liver. He is interrupted by another man, who informs Manhwa that the Martial Arts Alliance is asking for his presence. Manhwa walks over there right away with his hands behind his back. He still has the eye patch from his injured eye. He no longer is using a cane to walk, though he has a mild limp in his step. He arrives at the place where he was requested, the Hoguang Castle branch of the Martial Arts Alliance. He respectfully greets the sect leader, who is the one that requested his presence. The sect leader is revealed to be none other than Li, with a bird on his arm and a letter in his hand. We see that he has been promoted since we saw him last. Li is now the Lord of the Blue Dragon Longsword sect. Li is annoyed that Manhwa is late. Manhwa insists it's because of his injured leg, which makes it hard to travel, but Li doesn't care, flicking a letter in his direction. It's news that he thought Manhwa might be interested in hearing. Upon reading the text on the letter, Manhwa's eyes grow wide with shock. The entire Venom sect, which he used to be a part of, has disappeared in a single day. Since the Venom sect is a part of the Martial Arts Alliance, this is something that can't be ignored. It's bothersome, but Li must investigate to find out what happened. After saying this, he hears Manhwa sniggering and chuckling. This light laughter gradually increases into uncontrolled manic wailing. Like a crazy person, he laughs with his arms stretched out to the sides, while Li wonders what could possibly be so funny. Manhwa is so happy because he is certain that Yakang has returned, and he was the one behind the Venom sect's disappearance. Manhwa has been waiting for this boy for so long. He was thinking it was about time he made it out, but he had no idea the boy would start off this boldly. If he did escape from the mine, the first place he would have targeted would have been the Venom sect without a doubt. Li comments on how the Venom sect has become significantly weaker over the years. Anybody could have bought them down. But for a child to do it, one that was buried alive in a mine 8 years ago, that is very unlikely. Manhwa insists that it's him though. No one else would be crazy enough to attack a sect that is under the protection of the Martial Arts Alliance. And if it is him, he definitely isn't just going to stop with the Venom sect, and will likely get his revenge on others too. Manhwa asks that Lee let him handle this investigation. Since he doesn't want to do it himself, he may as well send someone who can be trusted. Lee thinks about this proposition for a moment, before agreeing. He removes an object from his sleeve and throws it to the floor, a plaque that holds the authority of an investigator of the Alliance's main branch, a position too high for the likes of Manhwa, so Lee asks him not to do anything stupid with it in his possession. Manhwa grabs the object from the floor and places it in his pocket, thanking Lee for letting him take over the investigation. He approaches the door ready to leave until all of a sudden the door handle radiates with heat, being extremely hot to the touch. This was caused by Lee, who gives Manhwa a piece of important advice before he leaves, telling him to be careful with that mouth of his. His expression shows that Lee isn't messing around. Manhwa assures Lord Lee that he will, before showing respect and leaving. With the door closed, a light smile appears on his face and he starts to chuckle again. He created Yakang so long ago with his experiments and has been waiting patiently for him to get out of the mine. Like a seed he planted a long time ago, Manhwa can't wait to harvest the fruits of his labors. It is said that the longer you wait, the sweeter the fruit you get at harvest. Manhwa can't wait to see how much Yakang is going to please him. He rides on horseback over to the location at the dead of night. The long journey alone gives him a lot of time to think about our main character. Revenge makes one stronger. In fact, it is one of the most powerful motivators of all. And on top of that, Yakang has struggled at the depths of hell for many years. He's undoubtedly grown significantly during this time. If he was able to escape from a place like that, Manhwa is certain Yakang would have no trouble taking out the Venom sect all by himself. This is something that Manhwa knew for a long time while waiting for Yakang to mine out. That's ultimately why he decided to leave the Venom sect and go with Lee to the Martial Arts Alliance instead. Upon arriving, he knows he made the right decision. The Venom sect has been completely destroyed, with everyone dead and everything burned to the ground. Manhwa bends down to inspect a body. Surely if it was Yakang that did this, he would have left some kind of trace behind. Suddenly, some kind of dagger comes whizzing through the air and past his head, smashing into the ground nearby. It startles him and he wonders who it could be. It came from an older man holding an umbrella on a nearby rooftop. He knows Manhwa and calls him out for loitering around like this. He's lucky he recognized his face, otherwise that dagger would have been in his throat. Manhwa recognizes the people surrounding him as members of the three big poison sects: the Iron Umbrella sect, the Darkness sect, and the Poison Valley sect. With the Darkness sect is a guy with a mask, who goes by the name Samwol-gu. The Umbrella guy is Namdi-do of the Iron Umbrella sect. And finally, a guy wearing green, named Yukno, is with the Poison Valley sect. Manhwa greets them all, explaining that he is here for the exact same reasons they are, to investigate what happened to the Venom sect. Despite leaving, he considered this place home. He couldn't bear to sit still after hearing what had happened. Yukno laughs at this reasoning, calling Manhwa a thief who stole from the Venom sect before he left. How dare he call this place home? If Manhwa hadn't stole from here, then they would have had more resources to fight back against the enemy. Yukno starts to get angry until he is calmed down by Samwol-gu, who points out that Manhwa is here on behalf of the Martial Arts Alliance as an investigator. With the help of the Alliance, it is going to make this all go by much quicker, so they shouldn't squabble. Manhwa thanks Samwol-gu for sticking up for him and stopping any unnecessary conflict. Namdi-do of the Iron Umbrella sect speaks up, wanting to know what the Martial Arts Alliance thinks of what has happened here. Instead of telling the sects about Yakang, Manhwa tells them that the Martial Arts Alliance believes the culprits were just rebel forces fighting against Lee. Namdi-do has a confused face, pointing out that these opposition forces were already dealt with before. Plus, it makes no sense as to why they would attack the Venom sect instead of going directly for Lee. Manhwa dismisses all of their questions and confusions, saying that they can find all that out once they have caught the culprit. The three poison sects turn to Manhwa, asking if he can notice anything about these bodies. Manhwa stares at them spread across the floor. No matter how hard he looks, he can't find any signs of bruises, meaning that the enemy probably killed them secretly. As a former member of the poison school, Manhwa's first thought is that the culprit took these guys out with poison. Samwol-gu starts walking away, instructing Manhwa to follow along. There is more that he should see. They found this while scouting earlier today and they were barely able to recognize his face. Manhwa looks down to see they are referring to Manju, the leader of the Venom sect. He immediately recognizes that the boils on Manju's skin are a symptom of cinnabar poison. Sanwol-gu agrees. However, they would have had to have been exposed to the poison for a long time for it to have this effect. He just can't seem to figure out how such a thing was possible. Manhwa thinks for a moment. Heading over to a large cauldron he notices near the trees. He gestures for the others to come over and see. The answer they are looking for is right here. It's clear the culprit took out the sect using smoke, burning a large amount of cinnabar to create a sort of poisonous mist. There are still remnants of cinnabar in the cauldron, and Manhwa noticed similar remnants on the corpses. There's also green tea leaves inside, which prevents the antidote from working. It's clear this enemy must have prepared in advance. The poison sects bicker amongst themselves about what they should do now, with Nambi-do wanting to immediately expand their search, and Sanwol-gu wanting to write a report first. While they talk, a gleeful smile is plastered all over Manhwa's face. This cauldron confirms to him that this is Yakang they are dealing with. Only he would use a poison that's this strong, due to his special body that has immunity. There must have been an endless supply of it down in the mines too. Manhwa grips onto the cauldron. With this cleverness and anger, he can see that Yakang has grown well in the time they have been apart. He starts to go manic, prompting concerned looks from all the poison sects standing around. He thinks about how he wants to see more of Yakang's revenge. He wants to see more of what his experiment is capable of. He snaps out of his haze and notices the others leaving for the night until morning. Manhwa says he is going to stay out here alone for a while, since he works better alone. Everyone agrees to meet back here tomorrow morning after some rest. The three poison sect members dash away in an instant. Now alone, Manhwa takes a deep breath and looks up into the night sky. He thinks that tonight is going to be a joyous night. Elsewhere nearby, a bunch of people in purple are gathered around some houses. They are members of the Iron Umbrella sect and have found a place for Nambi-do to spend the night. He compliments their choice of location before explaining that their investigation hasn't come back with much just yet. One of the members jokes that the enemy must have ran away, knowing they were coming here. Nambi-do looks down to the floor, noticing two bodies, both of them covered in spikes. The men explain that they are the former owners of this house. However, they refused to hand it over, so they dealt with them. Annoyed, Nambi-do orders some of his men to get rid of the bodies. Seeing such things is going to give him bad dreams. With the rest of his men lined up nearby, he starts addressing them and informing them of the situation. Tomorrow is going to be a busy day, so they should make sure to prepare themselves with a good night's rest. As he says this, a bunch of bags are thrown to the floor next to the men. One of the men notices these bags. Glancing over, curious about what they could be, they explode out of nowhere and a purple mist begins spreading into the air as everyone breaks out into a panic. Nambi-do doesn't know what's happening, calling out to his men, which he can no longer see due to the smoke. They yell back, telling him to be careful and not to breathe the smoke in because it is poison. Nambi-do raises his arm to cover his nose and mouth, realizing this is an enemy attack. Surely it can't be the same enemy that took out the Venom sect. There's no way he was waiting for them to come here. The leader of the Iron Umbrella sect watches as his members all choke to death on the gas that was just thrown in their direction. Through all the smoke can be seen a pair of legs, slowly moving forwards. Nambi-do narrows his eyes, trying to get a good look to see who this guy is, but he can barely see anything. It is revealed that the attack was from our main character, Yakang, who is approaching what remains of the Iron Umbrella sect. With his mouth covered tightly, Nambi-do knows he can't afford to be careless in this situation. With the darkness of the night and all the smoke, his vision isn't very clear, though it's clear to him that this is the same enemy that took out the Venom sect. He didn't run away and instead hid, planning to face them all. While one of the men inside the smoke is coughing uncontrollably, a dark figure approaches him from behind. Water pours from his eyes and mouth as he turns around to see this person at the last second. Moments later, a loud scream is heard echoing throughout the smoke. Another man hears this scream and starts to panic. The enemy is in the smoke with them and he starts swinging his umbrella weapon around frantically, with no clue where they are. The first person he sets his eyes upon, he shoots at them using his umbrella, assuming them to be the enemy. They go down easy and the guy mockingly calls them a small fry, until he gets a closer look and sees that the person he just shot was one of his own, now dying from the poison dart in his neck. The shooter desperately apologizes, it was an accident. He completely fails to hear the real enemy sneaking up behind him with a blade. His screams are the ones that are heard next, as blood can be seen splattering amongst the smoke. Nambi-do notices how this enemy is moving so effortlessly through this poison mist, as if he is used to fighting in the dark. At this rate they will all be annihilated. He calls out to the others, ordering them to get into formation. They should be aware of each other's positions so they can surround the enemy in the middle. The few men left alive look at the few people they are able to see standing around them. They shuffle into formation as best they can, covering their mouths with their clothes. They are all surrounding what they believe to be the enemy, a shadowy figure in the center of all the smoke. They communicate with Namdi-do, telling him that there is someone here. He orders them not to let this person escape and to close in on him right now. With his umbrella raised, he does the same. He's aware they could end up harming each other from this, but it is the only option they have left. On his mark, everyone fires their umbrellas. The area is lit up with muzzle flashes and the sounds of people screaming as they are hit. One of the guys calls Namdi-do out on this stupid plan. However, Namdi-do tells this guy to be quiet. If they waited around and did nothing, they would have died an even more humiliating death. Plus, it's all over now anyways. Namdi-do moves through the smoke past his fallen comrades. If someone is hit by the needles in their umbrellas, their bones melt down and they feel extreme pain. If the enemy was hit at least once, the fight is over. He finds Yakang laying on the ground defeated, with a blade by his side and 2 darts in his body. He comments on how it is just a young boy. They were having trouble facing this little one. He's certain that there has to be more to this, something the enemy is hiding. He leans forward to get a closer look, but it is revealed that Yakang is still alive and was just pretending. He lunges forwards with his blade, and Namdi-do quickly defends himself, temporarily moving his hand from his mouth to block the blade and dash backwards. He then yells out, "Impossible." There's no way he should be able to move after getting hit with a needle. Perhaps they missed him. Yakang rises to his feet, removing the needles from his body and placing them between his fingers. He uses a skill he was taught down in the mines, known as 12 flying threads, tossing one of the needles forwards, hitting one of the only surviving men right in the head. He collapses to the floor next to Namdi-do, who fixes his posture. He places his feet on the ground and prepares himself. If the enemy is throwing the needles back, he needs to dodge them at all costs. That's when he realizes his body feels extremely stiff. The needle is heading right in his direction, and he can do nothing but watch it. He remembers how he removed the cover from his mouth while blocking earlier, assuming he must have accidentally inhaled some of the poison mist back then. He yells out, cursing Yakang and cursing the situation he is in. The needle hits its target, landing perfectly on his right shoulder. Yakang watches Namdi-do cough in pain and fall to the floor dying. Namdi-do is furious, wondering how a man as great as himself could lose to a mere child like this. He grabs a needle off of the floor, yelling that he isn't going to let this happen. With the strength he has remaining, he stabs Yakang in the leg, looking up with a happy expression because he thinks he has gotten payback. However, his happiness fades when he sees that Yakang is unaffected by the needle. Yakang has heard that they possess great power and cause immense pain, but he's afraid they won't work on him. Namdi-do stumbles at the boy's feet, thinking he must be some kind of monster. Yakang just says one thing, explaining that he is from the medicine school. The story is a long one and the old man doesn't have enough time for him to go into further detail. Namdi-do dies seconds later, laying on the floor next to all his other comrades amongst the smoke that is now starting to clear. Yakang looks up at the full moon in the sky. His revenge plan is going well so far. The scene cuts to the Poison Valley sect. Yukno has received a message that there has been some trouble in the area where the Iron Umbrella sect are staying. It seems like the Darkness sect are already on their way now to check it out. Yukno has a bad feeling about all of this, but he tells his men to prepare their things. They are also going to check it out. He's sure the Iron Umbrella sect and the Darkness sect could probably handle whatever it is, but he doesn't want to take any risks, since they don't know who the enemy is. While everyone is preparing to leave, Yukno notices someone to his right. It's not someone he expected to see, so he asks them what they are doing here. The person is revealed to be Manhwa, with a sinister smile upon his face and an eager look in his one eye. Manhwa says that he has come here because there is some business he needs to do. Business that he is afraid can't wait until later. With the Poison Valley sect now behind him backing him up, Yukno demands to know what exactly this business is. Still with a smile on his face, Manhwa says that he is going to need the Poison Valley sect to die. Everyone has faces of befuddlement, trying to process what was just said. With Yukno getting angry, telling Manhwa to repeat himself, he must be out of his mind. Manhwa mocks Yukno, saying he must have lost his hearing. He asked everyone to die. Yukno calls him a cheeky rascal that must have forgotten his place after leaving the poison school and joining the martial arts alliance. Why does he even want them dead? Manhwa's eye narrows. With him giving a vague excuse, he just wants them dead for personal reasons. Assuming Manhwa must be a babbling lunatic, Yukno signals for his men to move forward. He was planning to take care of Manhwa one day anyways. At least this way he will be able to tell the alliance that it was him who started it. The men all charge at Manhwa, who remains with his hands behind his back. A light smile appears on his face as they close in on him. Elsewhere, Samwol-gu and the Darkness sect have arrived to rescue the Iron Umbrella sect. They charge into the cloud of smoke that is still lingering. Inside they see all of the people that have been taken out, with a few of them still barely clinging to life. They start to help the few survivors dotted around to their feet. One of the survivors tries to say something to the Darkness sect, however, before he can get his words out, the Darkness sect are ambushed and shot with needles. They immediately recognize the needles as the ones that are shot from the Iron Umbrella sect's weapons. Those hit by the needles fall to the floor, with the survivors telling everyone to run. Samwol-gu is standing on a nearby rooftop, looking down at the scene and hearing all of his sect getting slaughtered. The enemy left the survivors behind as bait and is now attacking the group from a blind spot. Samwol-gu can tell this enemy isn't a master, otherwise they would be fighting the sect head-on. Carefully watching the trajectory of the needles being shot, Samwol-gu figures out the location of this enemy. The Darkness sect specializes in fighting in the darkness. Samwol-gu dashes towards this enemy and through the smoke, confident he will have no problem defeating them. Inside the smoke he sees the enemy, a dark figure where all the needles have been coming from. Without hesitation he plunges his weapon into this enemy's chest, purposely avoiding the heart so the enemy can answer his questions. They will die if he tilts his sword even a little bit, so he advises they do as he says. Getting a better look at the guy he just stabbed, Samwol-gu can see it isn't the enemy he thought it was. He pushes the body back, it was just the corpse of Namni-do. He stabbed the wrong guy. He starts to panic, realizing that this must mean the enemy is still around. Looking off to the side, he sees the enemy, Ya-kang, standing at the back of the room with an umbrella in his hands. Before Samwol-gu can even react, a needle has been launched in his direction, aiming right for his chest. He launches out of the building like a rocket, skidding across the floor. Thinking it's all over, Ya-kang comes out of his hiding place slowly, still with the umbrella in hand. He goes to check on the body, only for his face to become shocked when he sees that the body isn't where he expected it to be. He's sure he shot the guy. He hears a sinister voice saying, "You really thought you would defeat me so easily." Samwol-gu is still alive, right behind Ya-kang and about to get the jump on him. Ya-kang attempts to turn around as fast as he can, and a splatter of blood appears within the smoke. The scene cuts back to Manhwa and the Poison Valley sect. Yukno has a confused face because Manhwa has somehow managed to chop one of his men's arm off. Manhwa insults the Poison Valley sect for charging in head first without a proper plan. He calls them pathetic. Yukno doesn't understand. He blinked for a moment and Manhwa managed to remove that guy's arm. He must have used some kind of trick. It's not just Yukno, and the rest of the Poison Valley sect don't know what happened. Manhwa taunts them for being scaredy cats, frightened of an old man who's close to death when they were so confident only moments ago. The men charge in a second time, with their weapons raised and battle cries loud. Yet within a flash, Manhwa has dashed through them all, before many of them could even reach the ground. He has already made quick work of them. Their heads pop, and they are all defeated, with Manhwa still standing with his hands behind his back. Yukno can tell that this isn't some trick, this is really happening. Manhwa confirms that this isn't a trick. Getting close to Yukno, he explains that it is just the difference in their skills. He is on an entirely different level to them. Yukno dashes backwards to create distance between the two of them. He realizes that Manhwa was just hiding his skills up until now. Manhwa denies hiding his power. He just was never presented with an opportunity to show off his abilities. He couldn't care less about the Poison Valley sect. This has nothing to do with them. He only cares about a single person. This person is moving a lot faster than he expected them to. Facing 3 masters of the poison sects in a single day must be tiring work. So Manhwa has decided to help the boy out by dealing with the Poison Valley sect. Yukno is confused, asking if Manhwa knows this enemy that is attacking them. Manhwa describes this enemy as a foe, a child, a parent, and also someone who completes him as a whole. After leaving the Venom sect, Manhwa lived his life as a beggar and a traitor, until he was able to join the Alliance and reach the position he is in now. He spent years yearning for revenge against this boy. Manhwa's need for revenge was the only motivation and driving force that allowed him to get this far. So it can be said that Ya-kang is the sole reason that Manhwa is who he is right now. Yukno interrupts the rambling madman, having no idea what he is talking about. It's as Manhwa said earlier, it's just personal reasons. He's had enough of talking now and wants to end this. It seems like Yukno also wants to end this, activating his special skill, Yellow Chi. He lunges forwards with it activated in his palm. Eager to show Manhwa its power, he attempts to strike his face. As if moving at the speed of light, Manhwa avoids the attack and appears behind Yukno, with his hands wrapped around his head. With a murderous expression, he says his farewells to the Poison Valley sect master, twisting his head like the top to a bottle, defeating him. With the Poison Valley sect dealt with, Manhwa lands back onto the floor elegantly. Looking up into the sky, he thinks that Yakang is probably finishing up with the other sects right about now. It is revealed that Yakang managed to avoid the sneak attack from Sanwol-gu, grabbing a hold of his weapon with his bare hand, getting slicing by it in the process. Yakang lets go of the blade and the umbrella he was carrying, dashing backwards. He still has 3 of the needles in his hands, which he throws at Sanwol-gu in an attempt to end things quickly. However, Sanwol-gu blocks by opening up the umbrella, using it as a shield. He hides behind it until the attacks have passed, then he peers over the top. Seeing that Yakang has vanished into the smoke again and is nowhere to be seen, he wonders how long this boy is going to play hide and seek for. The dagger he cut Yakang's hand with was coated in poison. He says that it's only a matter of time before Yakang's arm becomes paralyzed, then his entire body. Sanwol-gu is standing in a fighting stance, waiting patiently for Yakang to strike. As expected, he bursts out of the smoke with a weapon, attempting a surprise attack. Their weapons clash and the sound of metal clanging together echoes into the night. Sanwol-gu attempts to flank Yakang by moving to the side while their weapons are still interlocked. However, Yakang turns along with him, not letting his opponent get behind. Although immature, Sanwol-gu can see that this boy has the basics down. He didn't expect him to be so confident in close combat. With their weapons still locked, Sanwol-gu goes for a palm strike with his open hand. Yakang avoids it by fleeing backwards again. Sanwol-gu can tell this is going to be a bothersome battle. He was planning on capturing the enemy alive for more information, but he knows it won't be easy. He tries to convince Yakang to just give up, as the poison will be taking its effects soon and he will be paralyzed. Yakang refuses to give up, stating that it is his turn to attack now. He pounces forward with his blade using insane speed. Sanwol-gu is barely able to move out of the way in time. He has a shocked face which turns to anger. He goes to swing his blade, but Yakang has already moved behind him and is coming in for another attack. The kid has all of a sudden become super fast. Sanwol-gu has no idea where this has come from, assuming Yakang must have been hiding his skills. To think that such a child is able to reach these speeds, his attacks are even getting faster by the second. Getting worried, Sanwol-gu strikes the floor with his fist in attempt to buy himself some time. It works and he tries his best to catch his breath while Yakang starts to taunt him. He explains that he wasn't even moving fast, he doesn't have such martial arts techniques. Sanwol-gu realizes what has happened when his face starts to bubble and his veins throb. Earlier in the battle he was cut slightly across his cheek without even noticing, being infected with poison. It wasn't Yakang who was fast, but Sanwol-gu who was slow, because his senses were dulled from the poison. He can see that Yakang is a dangerous one, a person he was foolish to underestimate. Since he doesn't have much time, this is a fight he isn't going to prolong any further. From now on he won't be holding back. He fixes his stance, before taking a deep breath of air, with the poison spreading quickly through his body. He runs at Yakang using his shadow human bullet skill, making him extremely fast. He plans on aiming for Yakang's paralyzed left arm, the one he cut earlier with his blade. That's when he looks down to see he has been stabbed by that very same left arm he assumed was paralyzed. He had no idea Yakang was immune to poison, so Yakang took advantage of this. Sanwol-gu coughs and stumbles, after taking a needle straight to the heart. He falls before Yakang and dies shortly after. Yakang didn't use his left arm during that fight, so his opponent would really think it was paralyzed. It worked perfectly and sealed his victory in the end. Knowing he still needs to deal with the Poison Valley sect, Yakang debates if he should keep going or not. His body isn't in its best state. Looking out into the distance, he can sense strong killing intent coming from the area where the Poison Valley sect are staying. He wonders what this could be. Either way, he decides to leave things as they are for today. Facing someone with that much killing intent would be too much for him at this moment. The scene cuts back to Manhwa, whom the killing intent was coming from. After he slaughtered Yukno and the Poison Valley sect like ants, he's happy with how things went today. Glad he was able to see how much Yakang has grown while down in the mines. He's looking forward to the next time they finally meet. He goes to a rooftop to drink and think about things. It's clear to him that Yakang is going after the 3 big poison sects. These were just dispatched investigation groups. He struggles to believe if Yakang will really be able to take out the whole sects. If he does, Manhwa starts to think about which sect he could be heading for first. The Iron Umbrella sect is a sect that uses an umbrella as a weapon with needles inside. They are the weakest of the three, so wouldn't be a bad first target. But dealing with the Iron Umbrella sect first would give the other two sects time to strengthen and prepare. Therefore, it might make sense to go for the leaders first, the Poison Valley sect. Taking down this sect would be as good as taking on the entire Poison School, though it would probably be unrealistic to expect a boy to do such a thing. Plus, if the Poison Valley sect were to fall, then the Martial Arts Alliance would surely get involved in the action. That just leaves the final sect, the Darkness sect. The Darkness sect is very skilled at martial arts and often utilizes assassination techniques. Whether it be at an inn, market, or in the streets, they are able to attack from anywhere, so you can't let your guard down against them. Manhwa digs around in his pocket and removes the item that was given to him by Lee. It's clear that Yakang doesn't care about how strong or weak his opponent is, so Manhwa has a good idea of where he will be going first. With Manhwa's current power level, he is confident that he could take the boy out. But that would be too easy. He wants Yakang to experience agony and pain first. It's clear that our main character has become blinded by revenge, choosing a path of bloodshed. So Manhwa thinks that there is no reason why he shouldn't do the same. He stands up on the rooftop, overlooking the scene below. The floor is covered with bodies that Yakang has left behind on his rampage, many of which are even innocent civilians. The boy has become a merciless killer, blinded by his revenge. Manhwa starts to laugh manically, his laughter interrupting the peace of the night. The next morning the sun rises, and Yakang wakes up and walks over to a well. Here he washes himself with a bucket of water after spending the night resting. It's a quiet atmosphere, with not much being said. Yakang just leans against the well silently, in deep thought about memories of when he was down in the mine. The water drips from his body. He remembers the things that everyone taught him down in the mines. They told him that theory without practice was meaningless, and everything he learns down here would only be helpful if used in an actual situation. They warned him to be patient upon getting out. He should know his own strength before coming face to face with a foe. Now Yakang understands what they meant. He spent 8 years training alone in the mine, however he still lacks battle experience. He took unnecessary damage today because he was unable to predict the enemy's movements. The martial arts techniques he learned are all limited, and it is a struggle for him to fight in this condition. He walks away from the well, thinking that the enemies he is going to be facing in the future will be much stronger, so he needs to make sure he is prepared for when the time comes. He still has the poison within his body that drips from his pinky finger, a poison that has allowed him to face enemies way stronger than him in the past. A poison that was given to him after enduring countless torturous experiments. Yakang knows he needs to hurry so that he can figure out a way to defeat his enemies. The scene cuts to 4 whole days later, at the headquarters of the Poison Valley sect. People are shouting for the sect leader, bringing him some breaking news. The sect leader is Wejong, who tells his men to spit it out. They tell him all about Yukno and the others that were dispatched to investigate the Venom sect's disappearance. He was found dead on the scene along with the investigators from the other big sects, the Iron Umbrella and Darkness sect. Warriors have been dispatched to the scene to find out more. Wejong suspected something was off when the Venom sect perished in a single night. Now with the death of Yukno, he can tell that this is a serious issue. Perhaps there is someone holding a grudge against the Poison School. Wejong rises to his feet, saying he will go there himself to find out. This is a situation that shouldn't be prolonged much further. That's when he hears a voice telling him not to bother. The enemy will come here looking for Wejong soon enough anyway. Wejong looks up at the guy that said this, seeing a face he certainly didn't expect to see here. Manhwa, the advisor of the Martial Arts Alliance. He greets Wejong, but Wejong isn't friendly, stating that Manhwa isn't welcome here after he abandoned the Poison School many years ago. Manhwa states that that was all a misunderstanding. He can't believe Wejong and Yukno both hold such a grudge against him. Wejong starts to get angry, filling the air with a purple mist that causes those standing around to start coughing and struggling to breathe. With menacing eyes, he scolds Manhwa for daring to speak of the deceased Yukno. At this point the purple mist has gotten thicker, and everyone's eyes are starting to water. Yet Manhwa seems fine and casual, as if he is unaffected by the poison mist while those around him suffer. He can see that Wejong still thinks of him as an elder to some weak third-rate sect. That's not the case anymore. Manhwa spits something out of his mouth and onto the floor. Wejong is known as the 100 Poison Master, a name given to him because he is able to use 100 different types of poisons. Manhwa can see that he lives up to this name, but it doesn't matter. With a gust of wind, Manhwa blows all of the purple poison mist out of his face, clearing the air around him so that he can breathe freely no problem. He looks at Wejong, explaining that such things won't work on him. He has grown a lot since they saw each other last. Wejong is shocked, not expecting someone to be able to withstand his poison. He quickly grows even angrier, calling out to Manhwa in a threatening tone and towering over him. The rascal's skills might have improved since joining the martial arts alliance, but Wejong is able to use 100 different types of poison and is sure he can find one that will do damage. Manhwa stops him there. He would love to see all of his poisons one by one, but he didn't come here to start a fight. He only mentioned Yukno's name because he is the one that brought the news of his death here. Wejong turns to one of his men who confirms this to be true. Manhwa is the one who told them of Yukno's death. Manhwa removes the item from his pocket, explaining that since the Venom sect was under the Martial Arts Alliance, he was dispatched as an investigator to the scene. But he claims that when he arrived, everyone was already dead. Not only that, even nearby innocent civilians were massacred. It was a horrible sight. Manhwa says that whoever this guy is, he is targeting all of the poison school sects, and isn't just going to stop at one. Wejong is confused. This sounds like the work of a group of people, but Manhwa keeps speaking as if it is only one person. Manhwa explains that he knows it's only one person because he got a glimpse of the culprit from far away. He didn't confront the culprit and instead ran away out of fear. If he had died there, then there wouldn't have been any witnesses to say what had happened. Wejong assumes that he must have at least managed to gather some useful information that can help them. That is true, although Manhwa couldn't see the culprit clearly. He claims that he tracked his path and saw where he was heading next. Following the path, he was able to tell that the culprit is heading to the Iron Umbrella sect headquarters next. Manhwa proposes they gather up all the sects in the area and use the Iron Umbrella sect as bait, setting up a trap which he describes as the net of heaven and earth. Wejong knows of the net of heaven and earth and his eyes light up. It's a strategy that uses overwhelming numbers to surround a foe, leaving not even the greatest master with a way to escape. It's proven to be effective, but the enemy usually counters by aiming for the weakest part of the net, which can lead to the deaths of many soldiers. Without knowing the identity of the enemy, Wejong thinks it would be a bad idea to use the net of heaven and earth strategy. Plus, it would cause a lot of ruckus and damage just to capture a single guy. Manhwa understands, but the only reason he suggested it is because he has witnessed the strength of this enemy with his own eyes. He believes this to be their best plan moving forwards. Wejong still isn't a fan of the strategy for the poison school, and he definitely doesn't like that the person suggesting the strategy isn't even a member of the poison school himself, but an outsider. He doesn't want Manhwa interfering anymore in the matter. The actions that the poison sects take against this enemy will be decided amongst themselves. Manhwa raises the object given to him from Lee, reminding Wejong that he is an investigator sent from the Martial Arts Alliance. Using the power of this plaque he could. Before Manhwa can finish his sentence, Wejong yells out, "This is the Poison Valley sect, not the Martial Arts Alliance." After this yelling, there is a pause of silence for a moment, with tension filling the air. Manhwa puts away the plaque. If it's what Wejong wishes, then he will step away from this matter. Before leaving, he gives Wejong one last piece of information. The person who killed Yukno was someone with a limp in his leg, so they should keep an eye out for the crippled. Manhwa leaves the Poison Valley headquarters. He knew Wejong doesn't like him and that things would go down like this. And when Manhwa tried to force him to comply using the plaque, it only made him even angrier. This was Manhwa's plan all along, to make Wejong so angry that he wouldn't be able to tell that he was lying. Manhwa said the enemy is going to the Iron Umbrella sect next, but that isn't true. The most likely next target for Yakang is the Darkness sect. The Darkness sect would be the most troublesome for him in the future, so that will for sure be his next target. Manhwa has helped the boy by directing everyone's attention to the Iron Umbrella sect. That's all the help he is going to give. Now he is just going to wait and see what Yakang is really capable of. Not long later, the Poison Valley sect leader Wejong sent out orders to all of the other sects. The orders were for each of the sects to dispatch 20 of their most skilled members to capture the killer who is headed towards the Iron Umbrella headquarters, and for them to keep an eye out for the crippled. Meanwhile, Yakang has arrived at a farm, where people are working in the fields harvesting buckwheat, with people up in watchtowers looking over the whole scene. Yakang is hidden within the bushes. From the outside, this looks just like a regular farm village, but Yakang can tell that this isn't the case. They are making no unnecessary movements and they are very well trained. As expected of the Darkness sect headquarters, there are about 30 people here and it would be foolish for Yakang to go and face them all directly. He wonders what he should do, spotting bags of buckwheat that have been harvested on the ground. He's heard before that during their first harvest, farmers use the buckwheat to make rice cakes that are shared amongst everyone. If only Yakang can find a way to poison them. through these rice cakes. Unfortunately, he used most of the mercury poison stored inside his body during his last fight. His body is running dry and he needs to find a way to store more poison. He wanders around the forest until he spots something that could be of use to him. A flower called morning glories. The seed of these flowers has the effect to remove toxins from the body. However, overdosing on it can lead to diarrhea and cause visual hallucinations. If serious enough, it could even lead to one's death. A few seeds would be nowhere near enough to lead to someone's death. But if Yakang was able to extract the poison from a large number of seeds, he thinks he could easily kill over 30 people. A couple of days pass with Yakang collecting as much poison in his body as he is able to. One of the farmers of the darkness sect is out near a lake, doing some washing up. He's washing the buckwheat, happy that his sect is going to be feasting on some rice cakes today. A dark figure can be seen emerging from the bushes behind him. The man washing up is shot in his side with a poison needle, which kills him. Out from the bushes walks Yakang, still chewing on the seeds of the morning glory flower. It doesn't take long for the rest of the darkness sect to find their dead member, calling an emergency throughout the sect. They suspect it is the work of the rumored killer roaming around, as the victim was murdered using poison. Therefore, the darkness sect leader has given everyone an order to search the mountains to capture this enemy. The sect leader is a bearded man with a scar across his right eye. He received the message saying the killer was heading towards the Iron Umbrella sect and assumes it must have been wrong. Not that it matters, the leader is glad the killer has come their way. He's looking forward to avenging Sanwal-gu. The darkness sect head out in packs in the middle of the night, scouring the forest for the enemy with torches and weapons. Yakang easily sneaks right by them, making his way into their camp with a backpack on his back. He sets his backpack down next to the village well, where he plans to pour a bag of poison into their water supply. His last batch of poison. Before he can do this, he is shot in the arm out of nowhere, causing him to drop the bag on the floor and miss the well. Someone calls him a sneaky rascal. Did he really think they were going to let him sneak in here? To sneak into the headquarters of the darkness sect and try to poison the well? The sect leader can tell that Yakang is quite bold. With our main characters surrounded, the sect leader walks forward from the crowd, saying that there is nowhere left for Yakang to escape. Yakang looks at this guy with narrow eyes. A single bead of sweat rolls down his cheek. The leader assumes Yakang must be wondering how they were able to find out about him coming here. They were informed of his existence by the Poison Valley sect. From there it was easy to put the pieces together. Yakang wonders who could have possibly known about him when he left no witnesses. He knew he should have dealt with the killing aura that night instead of leaving it. They know Yakang is the one who took out the Venom sect, but they ask him if he is also the one who killed the investigators from the 3 poison sects and massacred the nearby villagers. Yakang confirms the part about the investigators, though this is his first time hearing about any villagers. The leader tells him to stop pretending like he doesn't know. It's clear he got rid of them to avoid potential witnesses. However, Yakang isn't lying. Sure, there were a few civilian casualties, but he definitely didn't massacre them. He thinks something must have happened after he left that night. The leader sighs. All of that doesn't matter in the end. What's important is that they have caught him. They demand to know who Yakang is and what is his purpose committing all these murders. Yakang doesn't answer, instead throwing a needle towards the face of the leader that he manages to catch. Then Yakang pulls out a bag, slamming it into the floor, which releases poison mist into the air. His signature move at this point. The smoke creates the perfect camouflage for him to be able to take enemies out from behind. He stabs one guy in the back and is spotted by another who comes charging forward swinging a sword. Yakang blocks this attack, and then uses a skill he learned while down in the mines, named Loud Outcry of Chi. This sends the guy flying backwards towards the leader, who orders everyone not to kill the child. They need to capture him alive. He makes eye contact with Yakang, while his men bicker in the background, complaining that at this rate they will all be slaughtered. The leader heads straight at Yakang with a shadow human bullet skill, banging into him with his shoulder and sending Yakang tumbling backwards out of all the smoke and into the open. The men quickly circle around to restrain him. To think such an arrogant young rascal was able to defeat 2 of their men so easily like that. The leader can't believe it. He hits Yakang with a special acupuncture technique that is supposed to paralyze him for a while. Then he orders his men to take the boy and lock him up in prison. Tomorrow morning they will bring him to the Poison Valley sect headquarters for questioning. All the ruckus and problems he has caused for the poison school ends today. They throw Yakang in prison, closing the door and leaving him in darkness. That night the darkness sect celebrate, eating rice cakes from their first harvest. Capturing this killer is a pretty big deal. The leader is confident that this will mean good things for the Darkness sect's future. Meanwhile, Yakang wakes up in his cell with a rice cake being placed next to his face. The man handing it over explains that it is tradition for them to be eaten after the first harvest. He was instructed by the sect leader to give this one to Yakang. However, the man doesn't want to and instead grabs the rice cake off the plate and starts eating it himself. One of the people Yakang killed earlier today was this guy's brother and he isn't happy about it, giving Yakang a kick in the stomach as payback while he eats his rice cake. As he is kicking, he screams out for Yakang to just die. He says this repeatedly until Yakang grabs a hold of his leg, which surprises the guy as he is supposed to be paralyzed and unable to move. Yakang explains that those acupuncture tricks don't work on him, because the acupuncture streams inside his body are all blocked full of poison. He thinks it's about time it takes effect, and the guy starts bleeding badly from his nose and suffering from extreme diarrhea down below. Yakang rises to his feet while the guy falls to his knees. How could this be happening? Although this guy lost his brother today, Yakang lost everything to the poison school, and this is just the next step in his revenge. He raises a sword into the air, telling the guy that he is just paying the price for his sins. In the cafeteria, a similar scene is occurring, with everyone dying after being poisoned. Their mouths foam up, and their no parts leak as they beg the leader to save them. The leader smashes a cup within his grasp, demanding to know what is going on here. Then he starts to feel it too. His guts are damaged as if he has been poisoned. He has no idea when this could have happened. In walks Yakang, seeing that he has arrived just on time to see everyone die. He reveals that he got himself captured on purpose, so that the Darkness sect would celebrate by eating the rice cakes without worrying about anything. The leader doesn't understand. They stopped him before he poisoned the well water, and they threw out the buckwheat from the guy that died washing by the river earlier. Yakang points over to the backpacks on the side of the room where the rice flour is stored. He prepared one of them himself and left it lying by the well before he was captured, knowing they would use the rice flour to make the rice cakes. Rice cakes are made using buckwheat and rice flour after all. The leader realizes the genius of this plan, getting himself captured to lower everyone's guards and distracting them with the water and buckwheat while poisoning the rice flour instead. He asks Yakang who he is. When Yakang states he is a descendant of the medicine school, specifically the 100 Flower Valley of Sorrow sect, the leader gets angry. He has never heard of such a sect of the medicine school, so why was he attacked like this? Yakang starts listing off all the other medicine school sects. The Wang Medicine sect, the Ginseng sect, Osong sect, Yellow Mulberry Mushroom sect, the Silkworm sect, the Heavenly Peach sect, Fish Scales sect, Single Flower sect, Literature Education sect. There are countless others, and Yakang asks if he has heard of any of those. The leader doesn't answer, which Yakang assumes is a yes. For the crimes they have committed against the medicine school sects, they must all now suffer and die. Yakang says his goodbyes and exits out the door while the leader yells desperately, calling our main character an arrogant fool for thinking he is going to just die this easily. He thinks that he will be fine and will be able to survive the poison if he uses his chi to suppress it. His plan suffers when he realizes that Yakang has set the building on fire while leaving. He needs to evacuate immediately, but the more he moves his body, the harder it is to suppress the poison. He grits his teeth in anger, letting out a howling scream that can be heard all the way outside of the burning building. Yakang assumes that all has been dealt with here. He walks away until he hears movement within the flames. It's the leader who has managed to stumble towards the door. With a furious face, he says that he is going to kill Yakang for this. He has no idea how something like this was even possible. The boy isn't skilled in martial arts, and he's not of significant lineage either. Plus, the letter said he was supposed to be crippled. So just how has the Darkness sect been annihilated by the likes of a child? The leader's vision starts to get hazy and his earth spins. The effects of the poison is definitely starting to set in a little more. Yakang asks him if he finds this all unfair, losing everything and dying overnight. The leader gets angry and starts to move forward, not letting things end like this. He attempts to punch Yakang, stating that he isn't going to be killed by someone like him. However, when the blast of the attack clears, Yakang is nowhere around and has run off again. The leader blows his way through the buildings trying to find Yakang, who is secretly hiding up on the roof looking down on the scene. Such strength even after being poisoned is to be expected of a sect leader. Yakang knows he stands no chance fighting against this guy face to face. Looking to the floor, he notices someone's body with a weapon laying next to them, giving him an idea of what he could do in this situation. Not knowing where our main character is, the leader starts to call him a coward for running and hiding like this. He should come out and fight like a man. That's when he hears the voice of a dark figure behind him, saying that the Darkness sect are famous for using stealth in battles, so it is hypocritical of him to call someone else a coward. The leader wastes no time running forward after making eye contact with the enemy. He's determined not to miss this time and to end things quick so he can get back to suppressing the poison in his body using chi. He sees the enemy hiding amongst the smoke, with two bright objects heading in his direction. These two objects turn out to be needles, which hit the leader in the chest, only adding to the poison already inside his body. The leader knows he doesn't have long left. Since the battle has come to this, he is going to give it his all in the final moments, going completely berserk and grabbing Yakang by the head and slamming him to the ground, stating that if he is going to hell, then he is going to take the boy with him too. The dust from the attack starts to fade and the leader's adrenaline begins to wear off. He removes his hand from the head and rises to his feet. Panting heavily, he looks down at the person that he just slammed into the ground, lying in the middle of the huge crater that was formed from the attack. He quickly realizes that it isn't the body of Yakang, it's someone completely different. He realizes that he has screwed up and let his guard down. It's just a random body that Yakang was using as a distraction to land a sneak attack. Yakang appears behind the leader with a blade. He plunges the blade into the back of the leader's neck, who with this blade and the absurd amounts of poison in his body is surely dead now. Yakang states that today he has completed another part of his revenge plan, taking out the Darkness sect. Soon the other sects will follow the same path. With a cold expression, he looks at the leader as he dies, bidding him farewell and a quick journey into the darkest depths of hell. Just like that, another sect has gone. Now the only two remaining big poison sects are the Iron Umbrella sect and the Poison Valley sect. And Yakang is one step closer to completing his revenge on behalf of all the medicine school victims. Part 2 ends here. If you are interested in a part 3, show your support by liking the video and commenting the word revenge. Also consider subscribing so you don't miss the next upload. Thank you and take care.